Hi, I'm Scott Hahn. I want to welcome you to a very special time, a conversation with a dear friend, a former student, and now my tutor in all things related to St. Joseph. Father Donald Calloway is the author of Consecration to St. Joseph, The Wonders of Our Spiritual Father. He also got his master's degree from Franciscan University. He went on to get a licentiate from the Dominican House in Washington, D.C. But now that Pope Francis has called for the year of St. Joseph, we are both elated. But I want to welcome you and thank you for all of the hard work you've been doing, dear
Thanks,
brother.
brother. Thank you. And you're my tutor. That's funny to me.
You are. And my sons as well. Two of my sons are seminarians. And we went through this consecration together. And I tell you, it was just like the Holy Spirit carving out new depths of openness to grace and to an appreciation of Him.
That's fantastic. I have to say, doing the research for it, it took about 3 years. And I didn't really know St. Joseph. I talked to him in prayer, but I found myself asking, if you remember, like 100 years ago, St. Maximilian Kolbe, even after the dogma had been declared of her being immaculate, he still asked, "Who are you, O Immaculate?" Remember?
Oh, yeah.
And I found myself asking that about St. Joseph, like, who are you? And when I did that research, I was blown away by the things that I discovered. And now people are finding out about it as well.
Let me just say, this is a side of Father Donald Calloway that most people don't know. I know because I had him as a student, but he wasn't an ordinary student. He didn't just have a voracious appetite for all things related to the faith. You had a research capacity. I remember the research you did on the Blessed Virgin Mary in relationship to the Holy Spirit and Colby and all of this. We're not talking about a box of files. We're talking about boxes, boxes, most of which I have photocopied.
I know, yeah. If I need it back, I'm going to actually go to your place.
That's right.
I did. Even when I was a student, I would be involved in other projects. And back in those days, you go to the library, you pop in a nickel to make a photocopy or whatever. I would get permission from my superior to just have massive amounts of nickels. And I would go in.
Been there, done that.
Right?
Yes.
And at that time,
hilarious.
I didn't know how it worked, but I thought I was actually going to get cancer of the hands from all the X-raying. I don't know if that's how it works, but I thought my hands are done because I'm doing all this research. But I did. I amassed volumes on Our Lady. Yeah.
That's exciting. So you shifted over to St. Joseph, and you have obviously done the consecration to the Blessed Virgin Mary, the St. Louis de Montfort consecration. So tell us about why it is you felt called to really make it more, not just available, universal, this consecration to St. Joseph.
Yeah, so I think it probably comes from just my being a priest now for 17 years and back up a few years. So about when I was ordained for about 14, I just was hearing so many people coming up to me, whether it was in confession, of course, or just counseling, spiritual direction, and saying, "Father, I really have problems in my family. We're about to get a divorce, or I've had a divorce, or I'm come from a wounded family." And I saw so much of it having to deal with, not exclusively, but in a big way, with fathers.
Right.
And I was just like, we've got a serious problem here. And then I read studies, even sociological ones, not necessarily coming from the church or anything, that more than half of all marriages today are ending in divorce.
Right.
I come from that situation myself, growing up. And so I was like, man, we could use a father right now. And who do we go to? It was a no-brainer.
Right.
We've got to go to Joseph. And so that's when I was like, but how, right? How do we do this? It's one thing to write a book, but how do I make it so that it's a book that you read, but also a book that you do? There's an application. And then it dawned on me in prayer. I was like, I wonder if in some place in Poland or Croatia, some priest has already come up with a consecration to St. Joseph type thing that parallels St. Louis de Montfort's.
Right.
So I made a lot of phone calls. You and I know a lot of people around the world. And so I called my friends and I said, "Hey, does this exist in your country?" They said, "No." All of them said no. But every single one of them said, "Father, that's a brilliant idea."
It is.
And that's how it came about.
Yeah, in other countries, Catholic theology has developed something that is almost entirely absent in the U.S., and that is the science of Josephology as a distinct branch. For many centuries, there was no such thing as Mariology. There was Marian devotion, obviously, there was Marian doctrine, but Mariology developed a lot, long before Josephology, except for Father Francis Fias. Is that his name, Fias?
Yeah, that's right.
And he's largely unknown. But I do believe that it's not just for theologians to discover Josephology. It's for all Catholics to discover the true meaning of fatherhood, that it's not just physical, but spiritual. It's not just natural, but supernatural. It's not primarily human. It is eternally divine. And so St. Joseph isn't like a father a little bit less than me as a dad. He is, in a certain sense, closer to God the Father than any creature who has ever fathered.
Right.
And I think it's time to discover that, not just in the theoretical realm for academics, but more specifically, practically and concretely, because as you say, father wounds, father scars, and I think it's more like the breakdown of the family is, the nuclear family underwent a kind of nuclear explosion, and there's a lot of nuclear fallout, radioactivity that you don't even see if you had an X-ray, and this is what people are going around, and not just men, but women, and especially women too. So this isn't just for men, it's especially for men, but it's also just as much for women. The thing I want